We have another birth video for you today, and this time it is our sweet Candy. This is Candy's third time being pregnant, third time giving birth. The first time Candy gave birth, we didn't know her yet, but the second time she gave birth was when she gave birth to Fancy and Willie. So this was her third time having kids, and she had two kids this time. Again, another doeling and another buckling. And this birth was a little bit different. This was the first birth where I felt moments of stress. And I'll explain more, as we go through the video. But Candy wound up giving birth on a Tuesday late afternoon. But on the Monday before, she was very restless. I checked on her a few times at night and she was just up and down constantly, pawing at the ground. So I thought for sure she was gonna go into labor Tuesday morning, or she would have the kids Tuesday morning. And that wasn't the case. On Tuesday morning, when I got up to do chores, she just wanted to be up and out with everybody. She wanted to eat her hay and alfalfa. She wanted to get up on the stand for her morning grain. So she just kind of went about business as usual on Tuesday. Definitely seemed restless. She didn't lay down very much. She was up a lot, kind of walking around, just kind of standing, but I just kept an eye on her. And so at about 12:30, I noticed that she was trying to get comfortable in our outdoor shelter. So I brought her into her barn stall and closed her in there, and she started just kind of pawing at the ground quite a bit. She was very interested in digging and pawing at the ground this labor. So from about 12:30 to 1:30, she was just readjusting a lot, getting up and down, pawing at the ground. And then at about 1:30, that's when I noticed like the first subtle contraction. She started being a little bit more grunty, a little bit more, labored breathing, and just generally seemed like she was preparing for more active labor. And then at about 3:15, I noticed a little bit of mucus on her back end, and she just seemed like more pushy. And then at 3:30, it seemed like a water sac ruptured. And as the water sac ruptured, the water went onto the ground, and she just wanted to kind of like lick all of that up and eat all of the hay that was soaked in the water. And then for a little while, from like 3:30 until like 3:55, she would lay down, give a little push, and then get back up. And lay down, give a little push, and get back up. And she was walking around a lot. She wasn't vocalizing a ton, which the last labor that she had, she kind of laid down and contractions kind of ramped up and she was very vocal. And so it wasn't like that. She would lay down, give a quiet push, and then get back up. And during this time, we had the other barn stall open so the other goats could kind of come and go as they please, not get to her, but just be visible next door. And she seemed like she was really bothered by it. At one point, Wesley was there and, she kind of stuck her head through and was just like biting at him. And it was pretty windy too that day, so we decided to just close that barn door so that the goats couldn't have access to that stall. And then at 3:57, that's when I noticed a hoof. It was visible. And it was just one at first. And it kind of, would push out a little and then go back in, and push out a little and go back in. I see a nose. And Candy was quiet, but she was pushing. And Candy was walking around a ton in the stall, so at some point I just pushed the cameras out of the way because she just needed space to walk and we just needed space in there. So at some point we started to notice another foot and the baby's head alongside. And it was about, I looked back at the camera footage, the timestamps, just to kind of get a sense of how long it was. It was about 10 minutes that from when I first saw the one hoof till the baby was actually born. And that whole 10 minutes, she kind of just stayed, you know, with her little face peeking out and the 2 feet, the 2 hooves, and was not coming out very far. It was just, you know, just at the edge there. And it was like that for about 10 minutes. At one point it started to feel a little stressful. Josh was there and he had mentioned that the baby wasn't moving at all. And in every birth so far that we've seen, the baby, as the baby's coming out, you know, they're kind of wagging their head a little bit and things like that. And this baby was quiet, not moving at all, and, you know, was hardly out for a full 10 minutes. And so anyway, Josh made the comment, that baby hasn't moved at all, and I said, do you think she's dead? And I can't remember if he said anything, but anyway, there was an element of curiosity of the baby's condition, mostly because this was kind of a new presentation of how a baby was being born. It seemed different for Candy from her last birth, where she just laid down and the contractions kind of ramped up and the baby emerged. This was kind of a lot of give a little push, get up and walk around, and not much visible movement from the baby. So it was unnecessary worry, because after about 10 minutes, the baby emerged and she was totally fine. She was beautiful and healthy, got right up right away. I think she was the quickest kid that we've had born here to get up and start looking for the teat. So she was really strong and healthy, and so, you know, our worrying was obviously unnecessary. But it is, you know, it's interesting in the moment, feelings arise based on, you know, what you've experienced or what you've heard and all of these things. And so I feel like, for me at least, like, it's such a good practice to just breathe and wait and breathe and wait, especially if there's no clear signs that anything is wrong. And so that first kid, she was a doeling and she was born at 4:08, and Candy right away was licking and loving on her and was doing great. But then Candy started to paw at the ground again, and at first she was just pawing right next to the doeling. But then she started pawing on the doeling, so much so that the doeling was kind of crying out of it. And Josh was kind of closer than I was, so, you know, I said, grab the doeling, and he did. And he just, you know, Candy came right over when Josh grabbed her, and Josh just was on, you know, he was kneeling and just sat the doeling right on his lap. Let's get her. You can lick her, sweetie. You can't kick her though. So I typically don't like to interfere at all, and just like the mama and baby to get to know one another. But that was the most stressful moment, I think, for me. Was I didn't know why Candy was pawing on the doeling, and the doeling was obviously not happy about it. So, but I wasn't concerned that she was like rejecting the doe, because she was still licking her and being really attentive and interested in her. It seemed to me that she was just gearing up to have another kid. And that's exactly what was happening. So, but we wanted the doeling to not get squashed in the process. So we just, you know, Josh just kind of held the doeling in his lap. Candy, you know, licked her still, and Josh just kind of protected her from getting pawed at. But probably about, you know, from when Candy first started pawing on the doeling, it was about 10 minutes later that the next baby was born. So it wasn't a ton of time in between. So at about 4:33, we saw the next kid start to emerge, and he just came out very quickly. And that second kid was a buckling, and once he was born, Candy seemed so much more relaxed. She laid down, she just went back and forth, licking both of them, and just kind of seemed like she could rest. She really didn't rest much throughout the labor. She hardly ever laid down. She would lay down, give a push, and get back up, and then towards the end, she was just walking in laps. So it finally seemed like she could just lay down and rest and lick her kids and get them all cleaned up. So after both kids were born, we just hung out and made sure everybody was doing well. I always give the mamas some warm molasses water. We always make sure that the kids are up and nursing really well. And then we just, you know, keep an eye and make sure the placenta is starting to emerge. And all of that happened, everything went really well, and everybody is doing great.